Testing. Okay. Hello. Today we are going to look at how to create Lambda functions in AWS. So first you need to have an AWS account. So you go to aws.amazon.com/console. Okay. So once you go to console, you can create a free account, or if you already have an account, you just sign in. For my case, I have an account. I'll just sign in. So I'm going to demonstrate how to create functions in AWS without setting up servers. So we call them Lambda functions or serverless functions. So if you have an account, you enter your code. So I'm just getting my account details. If you have the account details, you can proceed. So I'm just searching for mine. There. There it is. I'm gonna have the username, then the password. The administrator, and the password, then you just sign in. So there we are. So for you to create a function in AWS, you just type here and say you need a Lambda. There you are. So you can create functions easily in AWS. It can be Python or whatever you want. It can be PHP. So when you go to functions, you click create function. So there's other from scratch, user blueprint, container image, or serverless app repository. Just use the other from scratch. So I'm going to say demo Python function. Give it the name that you like. It can easily remember. I'm going to use, let's say, Python 3.7. Then you can create a new role or use an existing role. So let's use Lambda basic execution as the role. This gives you permissions on what you want to do in that function. Just ignore the advanced settings and click create function. So we're just going to do a basic implementation of a function. So it comes with a boilerplate of return status code, then the body. It dumps the body so that it gives you a data that you can decode. Okay, so inside here the folder, you have a function called lambda underscore function. This is the function that's going to run. So if you check on action, if you want to do a test, just write test, remove this, then click on create, then run that function by clicking on test. So if you run that function, you can either see the results here, or the results can be found here. So here is the status code, then the body. So if you want to alter the data here, you can say this is a demo function. So what you do to save this data, you click on deploy. To deploy the changes, then you test. So on testing, you're going to see this is a demo function, or you're going to see this is a demo function up here. So that's how easy it is to create a function. So once you click on test, you might be able to see you can go to monitoring just to see the logs of what has been happening. So inside the logs, you can see either the errors or the data that has been posted or what was happening. If you have set up the logger in your function. So these are logs. The first one that we created, when you click on the function deploy, here it is. So if you have the errors, they'll appear here, similar to this. If you have errors, they'll appear somewhere here. So that is what we call logging in AWS. So you have CloudWatch that does that. So back to our function. Our function has executed in 1.87 milliseconds, and it has been built in 2 milliseconds. Okay, so it has been rounded up to 2 milliseconds. So that's our build duration. So you can have resources configured depending on the weight of your function. You can have memory. You can have basically the memory. Then you can have tags. So those you can find them. You go back to configuration. So in the configuration down here, you can set up runtime settings. That's Lambda. So that's fine. So that's how the function that's going to run. And then on the environment variables, you can say region is EU West. That's Ireland, EU West 1. You can also say environment, let's say UAT. Then you save. So that's where you can put your environment variables when you want to include them in your function. So for example, for me to get my environment variables in this function, I have to import OS. Okay. So for me to get now the region, I can say os.environ.get region. It was what we called it, region. That's the region. Okay. So I can return that data here. I can say this is a demo function. Then I can say plus region. This is a demo function in that region. So I click on deploy. Then I click on test. So this is a demo function in EU West. So I've included my variables inside this function in the output. So here we have it. That's how you include variables in your function. Okay. So you can have tags just to enable you to do a proper searching of your function. So we can say Lambda was created by, it comes pre-filled sometimes. Lambda was created by test demo. Okay. Then the next one is you can say environment. This is a test environment. Then you can add other things like the name. It's a demo Python function. Then you can save. Those are just tags to enable you when you're doing searching, you can get the data. Then here you have basic settings where you have memory. You can adjust the time the maximum time you want your function to run. So there's a timeout. If it exceeds this number of seconds, then your function will time out. Okay. Then here you can set your memory depending on the performance of your function. It can be 128 or 256 MB etc. Here's the description of your function. This is an AWS demo function. Then here you're going to click on save. So this just will enable you to see how your function is going to run, what memory it needs. Okay, here is a VPC. If you have a database connection to Aurora or RDS, you can set up a VPC here. Okay, and then can also set the concurrency. You can also add your proxies, database proxies, if you have them, so that your function runs with connection pooling in the database. Okay, so basically that's it to do with Lambda function. So you can also add a trigger. A trigger can be SQS or a queuing function. It can be the API gateway. What triggers this function to run? Okay, so you can link this function to an API so that when you run that API, you're able to get data from this function. So we can go a step further and just demonstrate that. In AWS, just know that this Lambda function is managed. And just know that we haven't configured any servers. We just ran our code. We wrote our code and ran it. So those are the advantages of using Lambda functions in AWS. And also this function is built when it's invoked or when it's running or being computed. Otherwise, you are not billed when it's just sitting in the AWS account. Okay, that's the advantage of Lambda functions over EC2 instances or any other resource. So we are going to link this function to an API in AWS. So you go to services and search for API. Just type API. It will give you what we call API gateway. Let's open this in a new tab. So the API gateway is also a managed service, the same way to Lambda. You don't need to create servers for that. You just come and create your API, a new API. Okay, it can be HTTP, WebSocket, REST API. Okay, so we're going to create a REST API. Okay, so we're going to use this option. I'm going to build one. Okay, that's publicly accessible. The other one was private. It's accessed via the VPC. Then we can say demo API. Demo API. Okay, it can be regional or edge optimized. Edge optimized is where your content delivery network is close to you as a user. Okay, so you can click create API. So here what we're going to do is we're going to say create a resource. So our resource, we're going to say demo API. Okay, then here you enable course, then you click on create a resource. Okay, so here we are going to add a method called get method. Okay, so these are get to get data from our function. So on this method, if it opens, we're going to add our function. Just copy this name so that that function is the one that is going to be invoked when you call this API. Okay, so we are going to use our Lambda as a proxy. Our region is EU West 1, which is Ireland. Okay, that's close to my location. And you click on save. When you click on OK, then you're going to get this. So here's the integration, the method, request and response. So let's test our function. Just click on test. This is a demo function for EU West. Okay, so we have configured the API gateway in such a way that it reads data from our function. Okay, so all these services are managed. You don't need to do a lot of things, just configuring, link this to this, then it works. Okay, so as you can see, we have linked to this API. So what you do, you can deploy this method. Okay, so you can create stages. Let's say dev stage, and deploy. Okay, so when you deploy, you get this URL. Copy this URL, or copy link address. Let's copy it here. Then slash, our API was called demo API. Let's just go back. It's called slash demo API. So we have demo API. So if you run this, let's say in Postman or anywhere, you're going to get this data. This is a demo function in AWS 1. So this is how you can create a function in AWS, link to an API gateway, and then start consuming those APIs either in a dev environment or a UAT or a testing or in a production environment. So that's just one way of how you can create Lambda functions in AWS, then link to an API gateway, and then consume the data. So in the next chapter, we're also going to look at how to create serverless applications locally and then push the same data to AWS. So I hope you are following along. If you are watching, okay. So if you have any question, you can post in the comment section below. I'll be glad to to help. Okay, so those are just the basics. We have throttle, you have actions, you have aliases. You can export this function, you can delete the function. These are just simple things that you can do. You can also add layers, whereby if you have dependencies, such as you might need external libraries to add to your function or to import to your function. For example, you might need a data science libraries or requests in Python. Then you can add them into layers. These layers, you can add them from S3 or wherever that you want to add them from. Okay, you can just go add layers. It's either AWS layers, okay, or you have your own custom, okay, or you can specify where they exist, maybe in S3 bucket. Then you can just click on add. Then you can import in your function and start using them. So in the next tutorial, we'll be looking much deeper into things to do with layers, triggers. Okay, let me just refresh this. You might see one trigger here, which is the API gateway. So here you have seen our trigger, which is the API gateway that we have linked to this function. So next we're going to look at how you can create your functions locally and then just deploy to AWS, as long as you have configured settings on your local. So thank you for watching. I hope you like it. Leave the comments in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe as we continue this series of development and developing ourselves in AWS. Thank you for listening.